Let's color a page together in my coloring book, Boom Goes Nothing. This coloring book follows the story of Raid, a little cockroach who survives a nuclear blast, and she is the last remaining creature on Earth. So this kind of follows her life and how she copes with it, and then she makes a little wish at the end, and it comes true. So this next page coming up is where she wakes up the next day, and the newspaper comes out, and it says everyone is gone, which is funny because there's literally no one to print the newspaper. But anyway, so I just kind of like to start off my coloring pages. For these specifically, since I am coloring them chronologically and keeping the character colors the same, I usually just start off by coloring the character in the colors that I've picked, and then just kind of going from there. So for her, I've picked a pink, and then it's kind of like a brownish color for her body, and then her kind of like head cap and wings are the reddish color. The colors I picked for her are from a set of the Safai markers, and they're actually kind of running out, so I might eventually have to switch her colors up, but for now I'll keep them the same, and then I'll just try to find a better match when these markers actually officially run out. So I do think I'm probably going to speed up this footage a little bit because I don't know if I have the capacity to speak right now for the next 30 minutes while I color this page, but that's about how long it took me to color this page. So since I'm just coloring her body and I'm not really doing anything all that interesting, let me skip ahead to the next section. Okay, so I kind of flipped back a couple of pages because it's been a few months since I've colored in this book, and I wanted to remember what kind of color palette I was using, because I'm trying to stick to something similar as I move forward, though it probably won't be a perfect match. So I really love this color here. This is one of the fluorescent colors from Artex. I've been using this as one of my main accents for these pages, so that's what I'm using here. Okay, and I think overall I will keep the footage sped up. This is about 300%, so it's a little fast, but otherwise it's like watching paint dry, especially with me not really knowing what to say about some of this. Like I said, I'll start talking while I'm actually coloring because then it'll be more organic and make more sense. So I'm coming in with the fluorescent orange here, just kind of blending it in a little bit because I want to make sure this fire is really bright and vibrant. I've actually been putting this page off for a while because it was kind of intimidating to me, and I don't really know why. I mean, I illustrated this page, I kind of had a vision of what the color was going to be, but sometimes there's just a little bit of a mental block, and I just haven't really felt like doing this page. But you know what, with everything that's happening right now in the world, it kind of felt like a fitting page to do, so here we go. You can see me tapping my hand here because I can't decide what color I want to make the interior of the fire, and I ended up going with the green to kind of give it that radiation vibe. I added a little bit of fluorescent yellow on top of that to kind of make it a little more vibrant. And I literally could not remember what this purple was. I went back and forth. I tried a couple different purples, and I didn't really love them, but I made it work, especially with some of these colors that I have that are drying out, as you can see. I feel like when you pick a color palette for a book, it kind of takes away a little bit of the anxiety of knowing what you're going to do for each page, because you kind of have a general direction of what you want everything to look like. And I don't do it for all of my books, just sometimes it's fun to kind of experiment and just stick with the palette. It does also make it a little tricky because, like I said, it's been months since I worked on this book, and so just kind of trying to find what these colors were without remembering. I didn't do a good job of keeping track, I'll be honest. I think as I start to make more videos in this format, I will just show the colors I'm using so that we all have a visual reference. So if there's anyone who wants to color these pages or just kind of know the palettes I'm using, I'll have it in one place so everyone can see it. Even though for a book like this I am using maybe 3 to 4 different brands of markers, but it'll just give you a better idea of like the palettes in general and the codes in general, because a lot of these brands have crossover codes. I am happy that I finally have gotten back into this book because it definitely deserves a lot more love than I've been able to give it. I kind of struggle because I have 6 character books out right now, and so, you know, if I could only do 1 or 2 pages a week, it kind of varies on what I have time for, and I just haven't given this book very much love. It's kind of funny because this book is kind of like middle of the road in popularity for my books. Tad and Bovie are definitely the most popular, and maybe Raid comes in after that, but this is one of my favorite books, and probably one of the ones I'm most proud of just because of the style and like the ideas in it. There's a little blurb about this in the back of the book, but the original idea came from my friend Susan Slug. She came up to me one day and she was like, "Hey, I want a coloring book about a cockroach who survives the apocalypse." And she was like, "I don't want to make it, I just want to color in it, can you please make it?" And I said, "Okay, let me think about it." And I sat down and I came up with some fun ideas and I just ran with it. So it always a huge shout out to her for sparking the idea for me, and then it has literally become one of my favorite books. I'm currently working on my next coloring book, and it is kind of a sequel to Over the Moon. I was originally calling it Bovi's Revenge, but I'm not quite sure if that's the title I'm going to go with anymore. It's kind of a working title. But basically, Bovi goes back into space to take on the aliens that abducted her. There's going to be some exciting little twists in there, so I'm hoping to share more once I kind of get the whole outline sketched out. Okay, so once I have all the base colors laid down, I usually come in with a purple and start to do all of my shadows. So that's what you're seeing me do here. And I'll use the same color purple pretty much throughout the whole thing to do the shadows, and then I might come through with a lighter purple for areas where I want to be lighter and darker, but it's always in kind of the purple range that I do for my shadows. I like to do this because it kind of helps with the consistency of the overall color. Instead of doing like a gray or something, it helps to keep that vibrancy as well. I think this is also where you start to kind of see the image come together a bit more, because those details getting added in just kind of bring everything together. Putting in those base colors always feels a little bit boring to me, because I'm just like, I just want to get some color down so I can start to actually add in the details and make it look cool. The set of pens I'm grabbing here are the Linguo 3D acrylic gel pens, and I really enjoy using these. This neon green is one of my favorite colors to use specifically for this book, because again, it has kind of that radiation vibe. If you've seen a lot of my other coloring pages, I usually like to use like a bold yellow highlight, but for this book, I've kind of gone a little bit away from that, and I've done a little bit more of like these kind of fine line details for my highlights. I don't know if you could feel it, but I've been progressively speeding up the visuals as we've been going along, so we're nearing the end now. Let me know what you think of the final page in the comments, and I'll be doing more videos similar to this soon, so be sure to follow along, like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see.